Hey, greetings from paradise. Welcome to the Enjoy the Journey luxury travel show live from the Florida Keys. A special welcome to our live streaming viewers and podcast listeners around the world. Good morning, a special Sunday morning show. I'm your host, David Hartman, owner of Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency. I'm the travel agent that always asks two questions of my clients. What is your bucket list trip? And where do you wish you were right now? Wish you're here with me, cruising. Cruising is back. It's all about cruising this morning. A very brief update. I know we talked about cruising previously, but a lot changed the last 2 weeks, even the last few days. So I'm going to talk about how cruising is back and talk about where you can sail from in North America, not the US just yet, but from North America this summer, and also give you a background what's actually happening with the current regulations of cruising, kind of define what the CDC is doing and how that's holding things up and what the cruise lines are doing and which ones are going to sail this summer. So please stay tuned for that. As always, please like our social media, like this today, and share it. Really helps me out. And post questions in the feed. And I also have put a link there in a minute where you can actually join the show if you want to ask your questions or share your experience. And also follow my Fantastic Endeavors YouTube channel. And subscribe to that channel. That's where all the shows go, where it's live right now. And go to the Enjoy the Journey playlist, and you could see us all shows from this past year. We're over a year of shows live every weekend. So appreciate you guys following along. And we thank you for listening and following our social media. So Fantastic Endeavors is brought to you by, this show is brought to you by Fantastic Endeavors Travel Agency, of which I'm an owner, and Atlas Ocean Voyages. Anything you see you like today, by supporting this show, please support our travel agency. That really helps the show happen. Contact myself or my other agents, Skip Shear or Sue Mooney, if you know them directly. You can always message me here on Facebook or 305-453-9208. And Dave at bucketwishtrip.com. We are all certified cruise travel specialists. Atlas Ocean Voyages is a brand new cruise line launching late July. They moved their launch date back to late July from Rome now. Very exciting. They've been a long time sponsor of the show since last summer when I first started out this show. So I appreciate them very much. They specialize in Luxe-Expeditions. And remember, I'm still sailing November 28th to December 10th of this year to Antarctica. Round trip Ushuaia includes airfare direct charter flight from Orlando, direct, no stopping anywhere else, to Ushuaia. Multiple landings on the peninsula. And on the way home, why not? A total solar eclipse, very unique event, once in a 400-year event in that area. So check out this ad from Atlas right now. Atlas Ocean Voyages offers smaller ships designed for Luxe-Expeditions that extend the reach of adventure travel by sea, with their first ship launching in July 2021. Venture to small villages and remote locations, from the desert city of Petra to the frozen tundra of Antarctica. To experience Atlas Ocean Voyages, call David Hartman, 305-453-9208, Dave at bucketwishtrip.com. Hey, welcome back live. So first off, I want to talk about, again, how cruising is back. I do want to mention that first off, and this is true of many experts, cruising, now that's returning, is the safest form of travel. I've been on flights recently. Everyone's crammed to a plane. Yes, you're only there for a few hours or maybe a long half a day, but it is jam-packed, nowhere to distance. So cruising will be the safest form of travel because the regulations will mean 100% compliance with all health requirements. I will cover that later in the show, so stay tuned of what that means, of what you have to do to cruise here in the near future if you want to go this summer. Obviously, we believe by 2022, everything will be back to normal, cruise ships be full, and we're back to normal procedures. But for now, you can go cruising, but there'll be 100% compliance. So we'll make it very safe. To me, the safest form of travel, because when I went on a plane, there was no COVID testing. There was no vaccination requirements. And we all just went on the plane, got off the plane, went our merry way. If someone contracted COVID, they did spread in the direction they went. And I'm not going to go into that. We're talking about cruising today. I also want to explain first the Center for Disease Control no sail order, the thing that's holding up cruising. I've questioned on this show numerous times, why do they regulate cruising? I find that I had to do my own research. Stay tuned for a scheduled post at noon today, my Fantastic Endeavors Facebook page. And Royal Caribbean wrote a great blog that educated me and will educate you about the CDC's role in this whole cruising industry and how it is legitimate and how the cruising actually wants them to be regulated by the CDC. So CDC is Center for Disease Control. It's a federal agency of health. And there is something called, let me get it right here in my notes, 1944, the Public Health Service Act. And that basically helped prevent all communicable diseases from foreign countries into our country here. And what happened with the rise of cruising, CDC was around and they became the overriding, body that did that. There was something else in the early 70s and 80s. Then 86, basically, not going to the whole story, but 86 took over. This article by Royal Caribbean blog in my Facebook post coming up after the show, and please like that page when you're on it, we'll go into that in detail about the history if you're into that. But that's why it is legitimate. It is something the CDC has the authority to do. Many cruise lines in many states now, including Florida, our governor here, are challenging that as far as what is your authority to shut down the whole industry when you're doing nothing for anywhere else. That's a bit of a political game now, so we'll see how that works out. In the meantime, what cruises are doing, cruising is backed because they're sailing from ports close to the U.S. and not touching U.S. ports. So for the time being, the CDC has a no-sail order, or the NSO you hear about. And the cruise lines and CLIA, their main trade organization, of which I'm certified to be a cruise travel specialist, so is Skip and Sue in my agency. CLIA, the trade organization, and their member cruise lines are telling them, hey, your no-sail order from last spring is way outdated, and the requirements are too stringent for them to meet, like have a doctor on board for every sick patient and have facilities for testing every single passenger. There's thousands. There's some crazy things in there. Free cruises to start. I mean, it doesn't make any sense in today's day and environment where travel is returning, vaccinations are readily out there, and testing is readily out there. It just doesn't make any sense to a lot of experts, cruise lines, and myself. I must agree with the cruise lines in this case. So how are they getting around this in this time? And by the way, that no-sail order goes through November this year. CLIA and the cruise lines have said, please lift it. Certain politicians have said, hey, please lift that. CLIA goes, no. Sorry, CDC has gone, no. So for right now, there's a little pissing war going on. So why cruising is back is, first off, some cruise lines are not controlled by that no-sail order. They're too small. One is American Cruise Line. American Cruise Line is a very niche cruise line. American hold ships, American staff that sail only U.S. waters, under 200 passengers, so they don't qualify under the no-sail order. And they have sailed last week, inaugural voyage of a ship in Mississippi. And they had a sailing from Baltimore this weekend. That went very well. And we 100% vaccination and COVID tests required. So with that, cruising is back with these small niche cruises. Now they have a higher price point, but it's all inclusive. And they go to very niche things like the Mississippi River. And then Baltimore, you go to Chesapeake Bay, up and down that area. They have some really itineraries you need to check out, and we do represent that cruise line. Keep that in mind. Now, how are the big boys coming back? So there's a number out there. I will say Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, Celebrity, Crystal Cruises have all announced that they're going to sail geared towards U.S.-based travelers from ports close to the U.S., namely Bermuda, Bahamas, Nassau, the biggest port in Bahamas, and St. Martin are the main ports being used. I will say as a side note, because this is farther to travel, cruises are happening in Asia. Cruises are happening out of Israel. Royal Caribbean's doing that for just Israel people. A number of UK cruises and Singapore are doing cruises to nowhere just for those people from there, not for U.S. travelers yet. But Europe companies are starting Europe-only cruises that U.S. passengers can book. And a number of the major cruise lines have European cruises they're keeping on their books. Right now, there's no cruises until June anywhere that U.S. can travel to quickly, but they're coming back this summer in those areas. But how about if you don't want to travel that far? Well, there's an answer. Fly to Bermuda, fly to Nassau, Bahamas, or fly to St. Martin. All wonderful destinations by land, so make sure you do a pre or post cruise stay, by the way, and I can help you out with that. And I've been to 2 of those destinations, and they are unbelievable, fantastic to visit on land as well as by sea. So why is that not a problem? Because the Center for Disease Control is a federal government agency, the U.S. government. They have no control or say of the cruise lines if they sail from a foreign port and do not touch U.S. waters. So these sailings will be like a Bahamas cruise. Bermuda will be Bermuda, then Southern Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean, and then St. Martin will be Eastern Caribbean without ever touching a U.S. port. That's how that is possible. The no-sail order is still in effect for mid to larger cruise ships. I will say one name you didn't hear me say is Carnival, and another name is Disney Cruise Line. I want to mention Disney. I had a show about them yesterday from my Dave's Disney community, my private group. No word from them yet. Carnival says they're holding tight. They don't want to go this route for now. And this is as early as June. We have cruises coming back from these destinations, and more getting announced every day. And Disney's also a little more conservative. They're going to stick their guns out. They can't hold out for long. I don't think they're going to hold out till November because the CDC isn't budging. So stay tuned for more announcements there. And on future shows, I will announce if these major boys in cruising, Disney and Carnival, also announce that. Where are they going? What are they doing? We talked about American Cruise Line. I want to mention a little more detail about Royal Caribbean, NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line, Celebrity, and Crystal. First cruise going off is this June. Let me get the chat back up so I can say hello to you guys. Thank you all for being on board. I see Jan Ornstein, Christine Landano. Hey, Snapper's friend. Good morning, Jan. How's it going? Let me get back to my software and shut up some people before I go into the details. Jan says, good morning. Woo-hoo, woo-hoo. And by the way, I'll run my contact information in the bottom here as we're going along, so you guys can see how to get a hold of me. Yes, I'm your host. Good to be here. For Royal Caribbean, the first cruise announced is out of St. Martin, Eastern Caribbean cruise, 7 nights, and that's in June. I'm most excited Bermuda. Bermuda is one of the destinations I've been to in the Caribbean between dive vacations on land and cruise vacations that I wanted to go back and spend a whole week at. So I'm looking forward to maybe going to Bermuda, checking out Bermuda some more. I haven't been there in a few years. I've been there twice for cruises. Awesome. And then, sailing on a cruise from there just to get on a cruise ship again. Because it's been since November of 19 since I've been on a cruise ship. Oh my God. It's been over a year. What am I to do with myself? But it's time we all get back cruising again. So, and I'll talk in a few minutes about what that entails. But please leave a question in the chat, and love to have you guys comment today, and looking forward to some questions from you guys. Gotta check one thing real quick. There's no power to the laptop.
No power.
There's no power to the laptop. Pardon me, guys. I have no power to my laptop. Now I have no power to my lights. Lights are back. I set up this morning to a morning show. Why the morning show, by the way? Just a little tangent. I do have a dive group in town that I was away this week traveling on business, and then I came back, and they remind me they were here, and I kind of forgot about they were coming. And now I'm here. So I'm diving this afternoon, doing double rec dive with them. So I had to switch the show to Sunday. And actually, Sue Mooney was going to come on this week for Alaska update. We moved her to next week. So next show leading ahead is Saturday at 5 p.m. because giving you guys and myself Easter Sunday off next weekend. And that'll be on Alaska. Everything about Alaska. Big cruise update because Sue is an Alaska expert for my travel agency. She's also been on an Alaska cruise. I have not, to be full disclosure. So we're going to get her cruise experience from there from a couple of years ago and talk about where Alaska's at now. It's getting easier and easier and easier to travel to Alaska, I must say. They were the first ones to require rapid testing, and now that's even being relaxed. So good news there. And keep in mind, Alaska by land is available this year for travel. By cruise is a different story. We'll talk about that next week. All right, we're back up and running. Sorry about that. Without the power of the laptop, the show will not go smoothly. So appreciate you guys being on. So I talked about the different cruise lines as far as the different itineraries. It's going to vary a little bit depending on where they start. So I'm not going to go through detail of each one, but Bahamas are going to be shorter cruises and longer cruises. St. Martin, that's going to be all longer 7-night cruises, Eastern Caribbean, because that's where St. Martin is. St. Martin is a staple of an Eastern Caribbean itinerary. Bermuda is pretty far up. People don't realize Bermuda is pretty cool in the wintertime. They're actually across from like Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. So that is going to be purely touching Bahamas and Eastern Caribbean. And those are going to be longer itineraries. You can't have a 3-night cruise out of Bermuda unless it's a cruise to nowhere. As far as cruises to nowhere, I haven't heard of any yet. Those could be possible, but depends on those each governmental state. Now, to look ahead here, what does it take to get to these cruise lines? How can I get on these cruises? There's 2 things as of right now. One is a vaccination. If you're against vaccinations, get over it because you're going to need it to travel anywhere in the future. You're going to need to go anywhere in the future. You may see a day where restaurants are requiring, a vaccination barcode on your phone. I've already heard that idea out there, and believe me, ideas travel fast. There's a number of vaccines. I'm actually registered for the J&J vaccine. Parusa Bani's already had hers. She's all good to go. Once I have that J&J vaccine, and then I'm good to go. Keep in mind, there's a restriction on that. You must have been inoculated for at least 2 weeks before you travel. I just researched that this morning. First time I've heard that anywhere. So thank you, Peter Greenberg, a guy I follow online for that. I follow experts too. 2 weeks before you can travel. So if you're going somewhere and it's a vaccine requirement, I can't say it's guaranteed they're going to require that, but check into the supply restrictions. They'll probably want to see that your vaccination day, whatever certification you show, it's going to be electronic, it's going to be a barcode, whatever it is, 2 weeks, okay, just to get on board the ship. Most ships are not requiring COVID testing unless they're 18 or lower. So all adults 18 and above, vaccination required of the cruises listed right now. That's for Europe. That's for those Asia ones I mentioned. And that is for the ones leaving from Bermuda, Bahamas, St. Martin. Inoculation 2 weeks prior to your travel. 18 above, 18 and below, they can just have a COVID test 72 hours prior. Right now, testing is readily available. There's drive-through tests everywhere. Make sure you get a test that's compliant with those supplier rules, which will be listed on their website when you do your check-in process. And I can help you out with that. That's the cruise. Keep in mind, where are you traveling? International destination. Well, guess what? International destination has their own requirements. And that's going to involve a COVID test. So I hate to say it, you're going to have the vaccination and testing will still be part of your life to get on a cruise ship in the short term. If you want to go this summer, if you want to book for late 2021, 2022, it's a fluid situation changing every day. I imagine by January 2022, all this will be behind us and we'll be just free and clearing with the way the vaccines are going, even with the variants out there and with science on top of it. And us now finally following science, I think we'll be back on board by then, but we're watching every day. For cruise right now, American Cruise Line, 100% vaccination. Again, that's U.S. ports. For these bigger name cruise lines that are good for families, Celebrity, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, it's going to be 100% vaccination of 18 and above, 2 weeks prior to your sail date, and then follow the rules of that country you're going to, which I can't list here because they change every single day. So keep in mind, it's most likely a polychain reaction test, PCR test, which is readily available 3 days prior. Negative test, obviously, negative tests. No quarantine requirements in these destinations if you have that negative test. If not, the cruise lines would not sail from there. I have a friend going to California that thought they had a quarantine for 2 weeks. I'm like, no, if you have a negative test, you can go anywhere. Even Hawaii. Hawaii's been the strictest of the U.S. states to get into, and people were there in droves for spring break. You know, people want to travel. The cruise line saw that and said, hey, we got to sail because they didn't think people would go through all these measures. No, it's like 2 summers now of missing vacations. People want to get out and sail. So the cruise line decided, hey, we're not missing this summer. So we're doing what we can until the CDC kind of comes along. Hey, Greg Testa, good morning. Just shouting out to people in the chat. If you guys had a question, put it in. I didn't put a link to come on board today because it's a really short show. We still got to pack up and get ready for our trip. I just want to give you guys a quick update. We'll be back to a longer show next week when we talk more about Alaska cruising and Alaska land vacations. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So keep that in mind. Saturday at 5 o'clock to leave your hamper Easter Sunday free. Hope it's a beautiful day where you're at, just covering how cruising is back. It's news. Is it good or bad news? Depends on your opinion. I think it's great news. The fact that we have cruise ships now leaving regularly, American Cruise Line, from U.S. waters, sailing U.S. waters because they don't comply with the CDC restriction that they can't now change. That's great news. The big cruise lines who have been without income for like 12 months, that they can finally find a way to sail again close to U.S. waters for U.S. passengers is great news. It's not ideal. It's not just pulling up the Port of Miami an hour from my house and hopping on a cruise ship for a few days, but I'll take what I can get right now, and I plan to sail this summer and do my show from a cruise ship finally. Woo, woo, woo. Although I'm on the Celebrity Reflection right now. Pretty cool, huh? That's what's required. So there's a couple different things. Adults, vaccination, child, 18 under 18 will be a PCR test, a typical COVID test, negative test, obviously. And then follow the international requirements of where you're flying to, whether it's Europe, Asia, and especially Bermuda, St. Martin, Bahamas. Those are not U.S. territories, although Bermuda sometimes and Bahamas sometimes it feels like it. The cruise ships go in and out there so freely, you often wonder, because we don't ever fly there. When you fly there, okay, keep in mind too, back to basic travel requirements. International flight, guess what's required? Passport. Make sure your passport's up to date. So now we're not used to having a passport on a cruise ship. The cruise is not going to require a passport, although they may because you're boarding an international destination. Doesn't matter. You're going to need one anyways. And remember, all locations require the passport to be valid up to 6 months. So if your passport's expiring, get it renewed now and wait a few months. It's taking a long time. Well, my client just got theirs in 2 months, not the usual 6 weeks. Now, why the 6-month rule? Because a lot of visa requirements and destinations go anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and they don't want you to be there on a visa visiting, not cruising, visiting, and have your passport expire when you're there. Hence that rule. They actually go out double. Most places it's 45 to 90 days, and they just double the requirements. So that's why it's there. So passport required, more than 6 months expiration on your date from your date of arrival in that destination. You'll need a passport both ways to get home, so don't leave in your cruise ship safe, like I have some clients do. That doesn't go well at the airport. And follow that destination requirements and be cordial, kill them with kindness, and don't complain. I can't believe the number of people traveling to Hawaii. They are so strict with their requirements, but this is how dire people are to travel right now. So keep that in mind. That's what it takes to cruise right now. Those are the destinations. The itinerary is very based on destination. I like the Bermuda one because you can spend a lot of time on land and not get bored with a small island. Bahamas is great, but most people have been there by cruise ship. St. Martin's beautiful. You can spend a whole week there too. That's a whole different story. Bit more expensive. Bermuda can be expensive, but there's also ways to do Bermuda affordably too. And I like Bermuda's transportation system. You can buy a 3-day bus pass and hop on ferries and buses all day long, go where you want to go. In the Caribbean islands is a little tougher to get around, I will say. So I think Bermuda's my top one right now to cruise next. And these are launching in June this year, not next year, 2021. I did, for those of you on my Dave Disney community, my yesterday show was all about 2022 summer itineraries. Join that group on Facebook and check it out. Hey, Rob Stewart. Hey, Rob, what's up? He's watching. So keep in mind that each destination is going to be a little different. And we're talking about 2021. Disney Cruise 2022 yesterday. Now talking about 2021. This is now. This is just now. It's going to be April this week, just a couple months away. I have clients scheduled in June that have not been canceled yet by the cruise line for a normal itinerary leaving from Miami. I believe they're going to shift that cruise to depart from somewhere else and say, hey, if you still want to go, we'll let you on board with your current rate, give you some incentive like a future cruise credit. And then if you can cancel for a full refund or the future cruise credit. Always, always let the cruise line cancel you. There'll be more benefits. I dealt with this time and time again. I just had friends booked, and I have to give a dig here against our competition because it is a good story. My friends are booked on Royal Caribbean Alaska for this year. They wanted to go next year. They had other friends booked through Costco, the big beast out there, who thinks they're a travel agency. Actually, they're a wholesaler of goods. And they're a horrific travel agency, by the way. They're very lazy. Their friends were forced to cancel before the cruise line canceled or before announcement was made about final payment dates because Costco gave them their own final payment date and didn't honor when the cruise line pushed back the final payment date. And I told my clients who've been on the show, wait. And sure enough, they got an offer to guarantee and protect their pricing, and they got a better rate for next year because they got to wait. So it pays to work with a travel agency that works with the supplier rules and regulations and deadlines, not with, a big behemoth like Costco. Just a little information out there. So in other words, two lessons there, use an agency that works with suppliers correctly, appropriately, and also let the cruise line, the supplier, cancel on you. There's better benefits. I know we all have peace of mind issues right now, but it's better off to be patient. If your final payment date comes up, don't just ignore it. You still have to pay that if it's due, or say, and then just decide, hey, I'm going to cancel. I don't want to put that much money out there. A lot of clients have said that I don't want to invest that much money right now. I have the money. I just don't want the cruise line to have it. And then all they're offering are credits or they're slow on refunds. I get that. The airlines are still the worst, by the way, about that. So keep that in mind. One last call for questions. Hey, Rob. Thanks for the hey up. I'm going to put Rob's little comment here because I miss Rob. Rob taught me all I know about podcasting. Check out Disney Travel Secrets, by the way. It's a great podcast on Disney travel. Just to wrap up real quick, because I got to head out to scuba dive this afternoon. And then next week, we're on to talking about Alaska, and we'll have more information. Every week, as I'm briefed on this, I always post to my Fantastic Endeavors Facebook page any cruise news of late. That's my primary agency page. If it's Disney related, it goes on Dave's Disney page, hence the different brands. Personal page is more about fun stuff and to promote the show. But if it's something really path breaking, I'll put it on my personal. But follow those feeds, because I basically read the trades every day and put news there. I will have an update next week on Alaska, and any information on cruises I'll work into the show. So thanks, Rob. Appreciate the shout out. Before I wrap up, because I don't see any other questions in the chat, I know with the morning show, it's always tough to get people up asking questions. I do remind you again, cruising is back. American Cruise Line is sailing right now. People on a cruise ship from American waters, American-based cruise line, American hold, American staffed. They're going round trip Baltimore. They're going Mississippi River. They have some in Washington State on the Snake River launching. Check them out online and always contact me to book. I do specialize in all these cruise lines because I am a luxury cruise travel advisor. Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, Celebrity Cruises, even Crystal, a luxury cruise line, are launching from ports close to the U.S., but not sailing through U.S. waters to avoid the CDC no-sail order that is antiquated and outdated that they refuse to change. In our expert opinion, I agree with that expert opinion. So that is June this year and some of July, different itineraries, Bahamas, Eastern Caribbean, a little bit of Southern Caribbean, depends on the cruise line, the launch date. Always contact me for more information on that. And as always, to reach me, see the ticker down below, 305-453-9208 or dave@bucketwishtrip.com. And always message me here wherever you're watching this social media. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure to follow my YouTube page, Fantastic Endeavors, and follow the Enjoy the Journey playlist. Subscribe to that channel. It really helps us out. And as always, share this and leave a comment if you watch this on recording, because I always go back to my comments every day and answer comments along the way. Appreciate you guys joining me here on a Sunday afternoon. Next week's show is Saturday, special show because it's Easter. I'll give you guys Easter off at 5 p.m. It's be an update on travel to Alaska. We'll talk about cruising, but also talk about land travel too, because land travel is available this year. For cruising to Alaska, you're probably looking at 2022 because of Canadian requirements. We'll cover next week. Long story there. Sue Mooney, my client and now agent. If you like what Dave does, why not just join him in business? And that's what she did. She heard a couple episodes of the show in May, said, I want to join you in travel. And she did. And she's just knocking them dead out there. And she is an expert on Alaska travel. She will talk about her experience there and why it's good to travel early to Alaska in the cruise season, even though it's colder. She has some great tips about that. So check us out next week. You guys have a fantastic Sunday afternoon.